Hello everyone, this is Indu. I hope you are doing well. And today is day 5 of our top 100 SQL interview question. And today question is what is a stop scissor? And it's a very important question if you are fresher or experienced. Multiple time this question will be asked in a .NET interview or SQL interview if you are full stack developer or SQL related any interview they will ask you same question. So today we will cover this question and with full of understanding like why we use this, what is the role, like instead of using table why we use a stop scissor and why we need to use this. So firstly you need to understand, I already add here definition. A store procedure is a pre-written. You can write once and reuse again and again. Pre-written SQL query or you can say SQL program that is stored inside the database. That is stored inside the database and you can execute whenever you can need. So here what we can do, instead of writing again and again the SQL queries, we can write logic once and we can save here and we can reuse when we need it. For example, I can add it here. So here what we can do here, instead of writing SQL queries again and again, we can write the logic once and we can save it and reuse it whenever we want or need it. Okay, so here instead why we don't use table instead of stop scissor. So in the stop scissor we can store our data, but in the stop scissor we can add our logic. So this is the main difference between this and so I will already a definition is this. A stop procedure is a pre-compiled and save SQL block of code instead inside a database. And here we can write the logic. So same like that way we can create the procedure, stop procedure, and like that way we can execute. For example, this is we can make get by ID. So here we can pass the ID one. So it will be you can add here logic same like that you can make a CRUD operation like get by ID same like that way you can make here get by ID and you can pass the ID and you can get the, so here you can write the logic, not you can save any database. So with the help of stop scissor you can insert data, you can perform a multiple operation with the help of stop scissor. For example, if you want insert, update, delete, filter or any complex business logic we can easily write here. That's why we can make here. Sometime we have a complex query, long query. For example, you want to filter data every time it will be changed or because you don't change the table, but if you want according to your requirement you can easily change the stop scissor, but every time you are not able to change this. And here if you want to filter data, for example you can getting a roles every time you can show the data, filter the data based on the roles. That complex query we can write here and it's a pre-compiled and reusable rather than writing again we can reuse. That's why we are using here. And you can with the help of this you can do all the operations here. For example, user do any order, for example just for understanding. So you also when a user add any order, so you also want to insert that order in a order tables and update. So you can want to update in a 3 or 4 tables. For example, you also update the product stock and generate invoice. Maybe you can their reward points you also want to change. So that's time, this is the complex things, so that time we can use the stop scissor. Mainly we are using stop scissor to the reusability, right once and multiple time we can use. And performance is the pre-compiled, so execution is the faster, it's a pre-compiled so you don't need to compile again and again. And it's also used for the security purpose. User we can't directly show our domain model. For example, same like that way in a .NET Core we can use dependency injection. So same like that way for the security purpose, we are not directly show the user table to our front end, for our client or a front end user. So we can communicate with the help of stop Caesar. Now, so he will not able to access our actual table, and we just he just pass the parameter that stop procedure we can make. And also we can use for the maintainability. It means you can logic change, you can update in one place. For example, you are here, you want to change and you want to get user by name, so you can easily change here, and here you can pass the name, and here you can pass the name, and here value will be string. So in one place you need to change, not need to change everywhere every time. So that's why we are using stop procedure. I already explained you very well, and we can try to make practically so you have a more understanding to the performance improvement. We can use stop scissor because it's a pre-compiled and it's a execution plan. Means we don't. It is execution is a faster than writing a row SQL query again and again. Security, instead of giving direct table access, user can modify or delete anything. We can add here permission if we want. You easily add here permissions like admin only update or modify, and the other user only execute. So same like that way. And reusability means you can write once and use everywhere in the .NET application. uh, Anywhere you just pass this stop Caesar, reduce network traffic, because instead of sending large SQL queries for the application, you just call simply like that way executable and get by ID. And business logic inside DB. So you can write here business logic. So you can see same thing we can do in the CRUD operation when we are using in the .NET Core. So here you can same logic you can here right here instead the stop procedure. And next thing is where we need to use a stop scissor. We are using for the complex query when you are want to filter complex data, or you are want to, like for example, you can add the order and you want to that detail want to save in 2 or 3 tables. For example, you want to update the product stock, generate invoice, so you in one click you can do multiple things. That time we can use this complex query, multiple joins, insert, update, delete together, bulk data processing, security sensitive operations. When we have a secure data, we don't show our even our table name. That why that time we can use. And performance, for example, pagination and searching, because sometimes you have a multiple data. So instead of write again and again, we can make a one logic to call the uh, list of products or users. So mainly for the pagination searching, we also make a stop Caesar when we have a large data. Mainly we are using a banking system, ERP software, inventory management, reporting system. Next question is why not use table instead of stop Caesar? This is the important, like multiple time interview will ask same question. So table, uh, and what is the difference between a table and stop Caesar? So in a table we can store the data, but in the stop Caesar we can save the logic. So it's a permanent data, it's a executable code. So same like that way, here you can write your business logic, like I want to get my ID, get my name, I want to insert new record, delete, update things. So that time, for now we are using an anti-framework code, so we are using a link queue maximum time, not too much we are using stop Caesar. But before, I think before, when we are not using link queue, that time maximum time we can use of we can stop Caesar. But now also in the complex queries, that time we need to use stop Caesar. So it's an example of user table. It's a get user. You can get all the user with the help of stop Caesar. So a table is used for the storing data. A stop Caesar is used to processing the data, getting the data. So we can't replace with another because table is the database structure and store procedure is a database logic, business logic to do the CRUD operation. So they are served differently and have a different purpose. So you can understand, your table will be a bank system. For example, in a bank system, your table will be accounts, transaction, customer, and store procedure will be transfer money, calculate interest, generate statements. So these are the store procedure. Table stores information and store procedure that perform the operation and do the business logic here. And why where we not need use stop procedure. For example, you are doing a simple CRUD operation with anti framework, or so with the help of anti framework you can handle all the things. Small projects when business logic are stay same or simple, that time we don't need to use stop procedure. And in modern .NET application using anti framework, or many developer prefer link queue instead of stop procedure. But before anti framework core maximum time we are using stop procedure. But it's a, if you can go for an interview perspective, so it's a very important question, because I think this is the first question from the SQL maximum interview will ask, because this is a little bit complex to explain, that's why. And stop, it's a last stop scissor is a reusable, used for the reusable, secure and fast SQL logic instead of inside database. So it's a used for the performance, security, maintainability and performance, and security, reusability. So this is the main reason. So both are the different, and both are the different purpose. And next we can try to make one stop scissor, and I will understanding. So inside the last I will add here, table means, table means it's store the data, and SP means it's store the logic, it stores the logic. So both are different and work differently. So, and we can use a stop scissor to perform the complex application, complex operation, repeated queries, and a security requirement, and business rules that need to be a centralized. That time we can use in a like one space. We can add here, we can use stop scissor when we have complex operation, mainly for the complex operations, and you have a repeated query. For example, every time you want to get record by ID, this is for the example, but you don't again and again you want to write the query, so you can make the stop scissor and you just pass the parameter, and you can get that data instead of writing SQL query or SQL queries again and again. Security requirement, you, because though you are not directly exposed your table, you directly call like that way, that our we can do here. So you can see here, if you can see here, here when you can execute, you just execute, and this is the stops is the name. So inside the table you don't show expose what is the user table. So here you just passing the ID, not exposing your user table. So this is the benefit of uh, stop scissor for the square. When you have a secure data for banking system, that time we can use or you want to all the business logic in one place, business rules that need to be a centralized or in a one place, that time we can use store procedure. So I will explain you with simple way. I think everyone can easily understand. So if you have any question or not understand anything, you can message me here in the next video. If you have any question related to stop scissor, I will try to cover that question when I can make the next video. For example, for now I am making day 5 and the day 6 question. I will try to recall this and date if you have any query. So if you like this video, please like, share and comment below the video, like if this video will be helpful for you, or you want like any little bit helpful for you, you can add comment below the video. It's really motivates me to make the new video, because I am also working, so sometimes it's very difficult to make a new video. But I can, when I can see a multiple comments below, so it really motivates me to make the next video. So next is we can understand here. For example, this is the, I can make, this is the, I have a table, this is our database. I can make a simple database demo application, and here I can make this employee. So here same I can explain you how we can create a stored procedure in a simple way, so you have a basic idea. So in the employees table, for example, uh, let me check. You can see here we have how many records. So here we have a multiple records, for example 5 records. So I want to filter based on the department. For example, we have department is equal to IT, if we have a department is equal to HR. So I want to filter by department. So here I will, in the table we can add the data, but in the top scissor I can write the logic, so I can uh, uh, get record based on the department. So I can write here logic. How we can write here? Firstly, you can write here create procedure. So it's a very simple create procedure. Yeah, procedure. And next you can give the name. For example, I am get employees by name, by department. Sorry. So I will write here employees by, sorry, by department. And next thing is I will explain here what is our department. So it's a string value, int value, or any another value, for example bool or anything. So I will explain here data type, and I will write here, give the name department, department name. So this we need to pass, so it's a string. So I will write here, and it's a length I think 100. Next thing is I will write here as begin, and where from select our table name. This is our table name, so I can copy this from employees, select these fields, and department from here, from our employee table, and where we can add the condition, where our this field department, control Z, our this field department. So for example, I want to add here at the rate department name, this one, and in the last I will add here that. So all the things I can add it here. Let's try this department by processor. Okay, so I will execute this and test this is working or not. Okay, so it's completed successfully. Next, we will try to find that record with the help of ID. So same thing, we can match where department is equal to. So here we can pass that. So how we can get here? So we will write here how we can execute, and you can give the name this. and we need to pass this parameter because it's matching with this. So here we will write here this field is equal to IT. So now I will check. So you can see here we can write the logic and we can filter that record with the help of ID. Now I will check with HR. So like that way we can make the stop scissor, and inside the stop scissor we can write the logic. In the table we can save the data. In the stop scissor we can write the logic. So this is the main difference between table and stop scissor, and this is the most important .NET or SQL full stack .NET interview questions. So I hope this video will be helpful for you if you are looking for a job switch. So please prepare this question. This is the most important, and sometime interview will ask you. You can create a stop scissor. They will give you example. You can make the stop scissor, and they will. You have to understanding. You have to understanding how why we implement, not just a definition. You have to know a practical knowledge. So you can try to implement this example in your system, then you have a better understanding. So you are a better way you can answer in your interview. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please comment below the video. It's really motivates me to make the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. I hope you can select in your next interview. Best of luck.